Good morning, everyone. Yesterday the session was concentrated, was focused on the presentation of the universities and the courses. Today is more focused on the Erasmus program. So this morning we have the pleasure to have with us Antonella Ratti as a representative of the Italian Erasmus Plus National Agency. She will talk about the new Erasmus program. You know, the 2021 will start the new Erasmus program, and there are no news, sure news about it. So Antonella will say what she knows. So please, Antonella, come.
First of all, thanks to the University of Rome, Tor Vergata, and Gianfranco Tarquini for the invitation to this beautiful and amazing venue that I had the pleasure to visit for the very first time, as many of you, I guess. And I also would like to thank you, all of you, for joining this event, this network, and it's a pleasure for the National Agency to give a contribution to this two-day event. We as National Agency are expected to talk about the new program. You may know that the proposal for the next program generation has been presented by the European Commission and published last May. May 2018 on the multi-annual financial framework. So for the years to come, 2021-2027, one of the most important statements that we got concerning the future program is that one that I decided to briefly present in this slide from the EU Commissioner for Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, who has declared that the next Erasmus program will have the ambition to be more inclusive, more accessible, and more international. And today I will try to explain you what this statement means in terms of achieving these very ambitious goals. As you know, the Erasmus program has been a true success story. You know how many participants managed to get the possibility to go abroad for a period of study, of traineeship, of teaching, or training, depending on the profile of participants. And opportunities abroad have achieved 4 million people in the current Erasmus Plus program. So the biggest goal for the next one, for the next Erasmus program, will be to give opportunities abroad for over 12 million people by tripling the current budget. As you know, we are at the stage of waiting for the approval of the proposal Commission, but it's really expected such an increase of the Erasmus Plus budget for the next program. So let's now see how all this important statement from the European Commission will be dealt with in the different Erasmus Plus actions that you may know if you are used to the program. First of all, let me say that the current structure of the program, so let's say the umbrella structure of the Erasmus program with 3 key actions, will be maintained also in the next years to come. So key action 1 will be mainly devoted to mobilities, to credit mobilities, of course keeping both the intra-EU and the extra-EU component that was first implemented with the Erasmus Plus program starting in 2015. As I said before, one of the main goals of the next program will be that one to improve accessibility and inclusiveness. Because what has emerged from the midterm evaluation of the Erasmus program, and also from 2 important studies published by the European Commission, recently published by the European Commission on higher education and strategic partnerships, which are a part of the Erasmus program, prove that there were some parts of the program which were left behind in the implementation of the current structure. There were some categories, especially disadvantaged categories, which were not included or very difficult to reach out to. Both in terms of mobility opportunities, but also in terms of organizations participating in the program, especially those based in remote areas of the European Union. So one of the very first points of the next program is that one to improve the inclusiveness of both individuals and organizations. This will be achieved in Key Action 1 through more flexible mobility formats, and we will see later on what this means, and also through simplification and digitalization. It's really important that following this presentation there will be that one concerning Erasmus without paper, which is a great project that the European Commission has decided to implement, and it's also important for the national agency that many Italian universities, and among them University of Tor Vergata, have started to implement in this very first stage what will be the rule of the next program. So simplification will be very important both for agencies managing the program, but especially for beneficiaries and participants, because there will be let's say less administrative burden on both sides, and it will be easier to have the very same rules applying to all the Erasmus Plus actions, because this was another point that was emerged from the midterm evaluation of the Erasmus Plus program. Still, many different rules in different actions, making it very difficult for participants to understand the differences among actions. Another great novelty that will regard Key Action 1, so credit mobility, will be targeted mobility in forward-looking skills. It is not clear yet at this stage how this kind of targeted mobility in forward-looking skills will be implemented, so we still don't know whether intra-EU mobility, so Key Action 103, for those who know very well how Erasmus works, could be the action which will support this kind of mobility. So it could be open to extra EU countries, for example, industrialized countries. So those countries that at this stage are still very difficult to reach out to through Key Action 107, so international credit mobility in terms of budget. And together with all these aspects, of course, international dimension is confirmed. It will be boosted, as we will see later on, and also active participation of students will be boosted. And we will see what this kind of active participation really means later on, because another point that has emerged from this midterm evaluation of the program is that there is a strong need to raise awareness on European matters, something that is still missing among students, especially, and also among those that universities, higher education universities, in their third mission still cannot reach in the way it should be to make them aware of European issues. Concerning Key Action 2, let's say that this will be the action as it is now devoted to organizations, so to cooperation projects aiming at developing strong networks among universities and other important stakeholders depending on the objective of the actions. There is an important novelty concerning partnerships for cooperation, which are the partnerships that will be mainly exclusively, managed by national agencies. So what you know now as strategic partnerships will be dealt with as cooperation partnerships. So underlining the cooperation, the networking component in terms of achieving new objectives in this network of universities as they are now. So to address the priorities and policy frameworks of each Erasmus sectors. Of course, cooperation projects will be divided depending on the sector they refer to, and of course cross-sectoriality will be another important side of this cooperation projects as it is now. The novelty, as I was saying before, concerns the small-scale partnerships, and this is another point that has been underlined in the midterm evaluation of the Erasmus Plus program, because it has emerged that smaller organizations with less operational capacities did not manage to apply for these actions. And at the very same time, there were some old programs, such as intensive study programs, that were really appreciated in the predecessor program that were lost in Erasmus+. And we do hope that through small-scale partnerships, this part of the program could be included again in the next one. But unfortunately, we still don't know at this stage whether small-scale partnerships will be open to the higher education sector. So there is the chance that with smaller budgets, smaller organization and lower periods, these small-scale partnerships will be open to school, adult education sectors. So all those that till today did not manage to find their way in the Erasmus Plus program. Concerning the partnerships for innovation, the European Commission has underlined that because this side of the program, partnerships for innovation and partnerships for excellence, will be managed by the executive agency, so at a centralized level. This is what we know by now. That means that these two other sides of Key Action 2 aim at reaching a systemic impact that maybe with cooperation, partnerships has not been reached till now. So we will have partnerships for innovation with two different lines, budget lines, with alliances resembling the current knowledge and sector skills alliances. So those fostering collaboration between the higher education and that sector. So collaboration between businesses and research, and forward-looking projects that are now currently under Key Action 3 in the Erasmus Plus program. So there is a great interest in fostering projects that could really reach a systemic impact, because based on key European priorities. Let's say that the biggest novelty will be that one concerning partnerships for excellence, that we already managed to see working in this current in the current Erasmus Plus program, because the pilot phase of European universities has already started in 2019. So European universities will be together with Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Degree covering what the European Commission considers as the excellence of the program, because this will be the action devoted to reaching the highest level of integration among universities and among study programs, with a difference between European universities and Erasmus Mundus, where European universities will try to boost the attractiveness of the European higher education area, and will manage to cover all the study cycles as compared to the Erasmus Mundus action. As you can see, we are not talking about a revolution of the current Erasmus Plus program. This is something that the European Commission has underlined in many occasions, given the success story that Erasmus Plus can really be considered, and has been considered in all the evaluation and consultation with important stakeholders that fed into the impact studies that we have today. This will be, let's say, the main novelties that I already mentioned before. I think that one of the most important aspects, as already underlined, and novelties, will be this one concerning inclusiveness and accessibility. As I mentioned, the main novelties will regard other sectors of the program which have been underrepresented under Erasmus Plus, because, as you may know, there were some mobilities that had been excluded from the Erasmus Plus program. So we will see again. I will show you later on more clearly how the Erasmus program will look like in 2021, 2027. So we will have again mobilities for school pupils, VET learners and young people. There will be also flexible activity formats and especially blended mobility and virtual exchanges will be boosted. Making full use of digital innovations. This because it has emerged that there are some participants who cannot really afford staying abroad for a long period, given also the low level of grants, and we do expect an increase from this side as well. And so blended mobility or virtual exchanges could be a solution for those who cannot afford this kind of mobility or long periods of physical mobility in the Erasmus program. And as I was mentioning before, small-scale partnerships for newcomers and grassroots organizations working directly with people with few opportunities will be another important component of the next Erasmus program. Concerning the forward-looking Erasmus that I was referring to before, we will also have targeted mobility in strategic forward-looking fields. We do hope that this will be implemented through Key Action 103, so opening the current intra-EU mobility to industrialized countries, but it's still under debate the way this mobility will be implemented, and together with European universities we will also find centers of vocational excellence, and I was saying before, partnerships for innovation. Just let me say, because this is something that maybe some of you already spotted in the presentation, talking about cooperation partnerships as managed by national agencies, so at a decentralized level, does not mean that innovation will not be anymore a component of strategic partnerships as we know them by now. This is something that we as national agencies have underlined in our many consultations with the European Commission, because we do not want to see the next program as something where innovation and excellence are left at the highest level, and so with no way for smaller organizations or let's say also organizations who are not willing to apply at a central level to keep innovation and to try to reach it. Concerning the participatory component of the next Erasmus program, we are already observing some changes in the current one. For example, bringing participants closer to the local communities. What I was saying before concerning the importance of raising awareness about European matters, about the E+ program at the lowest level of societies, and this has been made already by the Erasmus alumni network, which will be reinforced and institutionalized in the next program. There are already some interesting initiatives working with the schools in order to let pupils know quite well in advance the importance of having an experience abroad. There is also the Discover You opportunity, which has been launched last year in 2018-2019. In order to boost students and young people opportunity to travel around Europe. And another important component in order to reach out to a wider audience is also that one concerning the opening of Jean Monnet to other sectors than higher education. So we will also see some Jean Monnet activities open to schools. Concerning the international dimension, this has been, let's say, the most important success of the Erasmus program. So, of course, it will be maintained and boosted in the next one. It will be also extended to other sectors. There are already some pilot projects, pilot initiatives concerning the vocational and educational sectors for the international dimension. These are two experiments which are currently working with Western Balkans and Africa, but we still don't know how it's going. I would also add another important element concerning the international dimension for the next program, which is that one concerning the possibility to have a simplification in terms of external cooperation instruments. Of course, Erasmus International will be complemented by EU external instruments as it is by now, but it's still under discussion the possibility to have a simplification, which will be extremely important, at least for us as national agencies. I also would like to add this point, which is related to the synergies with other EU instruments. Structural funds, Horizon Europe, Creative Europe, European Solidarity Corps, and Invest EU, because this is another point that was highlighted in the evaluation of the current program. So it has been complained the lack of communication of synergies among all these other funding EU instruments, what could boost on one side, for example, concerning Horizon Europe, the possibility to have a stronger link with the research, which is something that in Erasmus Plus is missing, but also the cooperation, the synergy with structural funds could be seen as a way to scale up successful projects. So we still don't know, unfortunately, how this kind of synergies will be implemented. But I can just give you an example of what we as national agency have started working on. There is an agreement which still has to be signed with the region of Sicily concerning the possibility to help them with the structural funds. So in order to increase the level of Erasmus grants for students, so to have a major inclusiveness of the program as it is asked and suggested by the European Commission. Concerning simplification, as I was saying before, we are expecting lighter application forms and also shorter reports. I know that many of you are struggling with final reports and all these kind of administrative documents, which are really hard to deal with concerning all the time they request in order to be submitted, to be filled in. And it's also something that we as national agencies have really worked on with the European Commission, because there is no need to have the very same reports replicated year by year when we are asking the very same information. What we really want to work on and to see new is something which is which concerns quality, and we are missing a lot of quality when asking for all these documents. So there will be less administrative requirements for beneficiaries, and as I was saying before, digitalization of all key steps of the management of Erasmus Plus exchanges will be one of the most important achievement of the next program. So. Here is the program as it should look like in 2021. As you can see, we still have the three actions: key action 1 dedicated to mobility, key action 2 to cooperation, and key action 3 to policy development. I underlined in green all the novelties concerning the next program. If there is any additional question, I will be happy to answer later on during the question and answer time, if there is time. There is no, there is no other important element to underline, because I think they already tackle many of them. Here is the expected total budget in billion euros. So there is more or less 25% of the budget dedicated to education and training, and here is the figure for the different sectors, where the biggest part is devoted to the higher education one. So looking at the challenges, because I know that you are also dealing with challenges during this two-day event. And this is something that I was going to share with you, because it's also part of the concerns that we as national agency currently have, looking at what the Erasmus program will look like in 2021. So we are first of all wondering whether making the program more inclusive by tripling the number of participants could come to the detriment of the quality of Erasmus in terms of outcomes and impact. So we do not want to lose anything from the qualitative side while trying to reach the highest number of participants, and I think that this is something that it's really interesting for you that are going to manage also highest number of students and teachers going abroad. There is another point, which is that one related to the diversity of initiatives provided in the next program, which we do expect will be aligned with the simplification which has been advocated in the proposal. So we are wondering, okay, we are going to have European universities, blended mobility, digital and forward-looking fields for mobilities, Discover EU, JM for other sectors, but how we are we sure we are going to keep the program simplified as it has been presented in the proposal, because the harmonization of rules has been one of the most important part that has been asked in the different midterm stages, midterm evaluation stages of the program, and we are not sure that with the current structure, as it has been presented by the European Commission, this harmonization of rules will be kept. And another important point is that one related to the balance between excellence and inclusion, because we are saying that we want to improve the quality of the program, but at the very same time we do not have to lose the importance of keeping the excellence of some of its actions. So Erasmus Mundus action, let's say the European universities one, but we also have the cooperation partnerships which have been very successful in this program. So while we have to keep in mind that inclusion can be an element of excellence, so to keep to have on board all the participants and all the organizations from diverse part of the societies of the society. We also have to keep in mind that these objectives have to be balanced in concrete projects and activities. So, okay, let's have all the organizations on board, but at the very same time, do not forget the importance of quality, because Erasmus is a success story for its quality, and we have to strive for this one. Okay, so here is my presentation. Thanks for your attention, and I will be happy to reply to your questions.
So, thank you very much for your presentation, interesting presentation, I say, because we will have a simpler Erasmus. Next will be simpler. We hope so. So Erasmus without paper. We, as Antonella said, we are involved as University of Rome, Tor Vergata, and with other Italian universities in this project. So for this reason, this year we bought a new platform for a new organizer for the Erasmus program, to manage the Erasmus program, that is almost ready to talk with the new platform of the European Commission. So we have here the project manager of this new platform, is the responsible of the company Cantieri Informatici, and he will talk about this new project with us. Please, Luigi Gallo.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Gianfranco and Tor Vergata, to invite me to speak in this beautiful sunny day in this wonderful villa. I am Luigi Gallo from Cantieri Informatici, and I'm here today to speak about the Erasmus without paper. I'll make a brief introduction about me, about the company I represent, Cantieri Informatici, what we did to help university to manage all the steps required for the Erasmus program so far, and what we are going to do with the upcoming Erasmus without paper. I've been an Erasmus student in '97, long time ago, in Spain, Universidad Autónoma de Madrid, where I spent 12 months. And when I came back to Rome, I still wanted to make part of the Erasmus world. And so I started working in the International Relations Office of Università degli Studi di Roma 3, and also was part of the Erasmus Association to organize cultural trips and parties also. and to make the Erasmus card for the Erasmus students coming to study at university, and give information for outgoing students and incoming students. I also met my wife. She was an Erasmus student from La Sorbonne in Paris. And I was working with another colleague, which was a computer science engineer like me. And we decided to create a database and a software to manage all the information which were stored in hundreds of binders in a dozen of shelves, and each time it was so difficult to look for simple information. So we decided to create this software. Its first name was the Socrates Organizer, then we named it the Erasmus Plus Organizer. And it was used first by Università di Studi Roma 3 and La Sapienza Università di Roma, and later we created a similar software to manage other programs like Leonardo and Erasmus Plus traineeship, and we started to work also with Tor Vergata a long time ago, back to 2002. Yeah. Like the uni graduates and Uni Roma training. That, I think, it was the very first Erasmus evolution, when thanks to all the Socrates Organizer and other similar software, and almost contemporary in many other countries, other engineers were doing almost the same. We migrated from paper to digital. Digital means that all the information which were in papers and binders in the shelves were stored in a single database and there was a web server which served all the information to the computers of the International Relations Office, and also to all the computers of the university. But this first evolution took effect only within the boundaries of the single university, because all the exchange of data between universities was mixed by phone, by mail, by post, by fax, so in many different ways. This is a little presentation about the software we created, Erasmus Plus Organizer. I will speak a little bit about it. I like to say that it is similar to a Swiss knife. It has a tool for all the steps required to manage the Erasmus Plus program. And it is also fully integrated with the IT system of the university. So it can share information. For example, it can create an immatriculation for incoming students, or it can read all the exams to create a transcript of records, or it can also register the exams for the outgoing students in the university database. We are very available with the university to create each steps to make this partnership between the Erasmus Organizer and the university system even more rich and customized for each university, because each university is different. So the main features is the creation tools for creating agreements, and also fill in the information. For each university can fill information like the info sheet, and to create the scholarship, the management of the scholarship for each agreement, a tool to support the generation of the call document, online application for outgoing students and incoming students. Outgoing students, for instance, we have we can import data from a university database, so that the students don't have to fill all the information like name, surname, date of birth, but everything is already pre-compiled. And for incoming students, they can start with in the application to fill their study project, which will be created into the university database, like piano di studi, as we say in Italian. It can also generate rankings automatically based on the algorithm of each faculty. Sometimes there is only one algorithm for all the university. And it has a tool for the scholarship assignment and the publication. Students have their private page where they can accept the scholarship, see information on the destination, sign the contract, and many compile the learning agreement. We have a system similar to OLA, but it is also integrated with a university course catalog. So the students can search in the catalog, and sometimes it can also pick between the exams that it still has to do. And there is a tool to manage payments and to print a transcript of records, and finally, one of the tools preferred from every university is the reporting tool and mobility tool. The organizer creates an Excel ready to be imported into the mobility tool. And if it doesn't work, they call me and I help them, or my colleagues. So these are a few screenshots of the Erasmus organizers, just to see what it looks like. These are Erasmus outgoing students of Jurisprudenza. These are Erasmus incoming students, etc. What's next? Well, Erasmus without paper, of course. This is going to be the second Erasmus revolution. It is all being connected now. When in the first evolution, I said that it was digital but local, so local to a single university. Now it's going to be digital globally. Information will travel digital in real time and in a standard way between all the universities. And I think it's a great idea. As a web developer, I really love this idea. So which information will travel automatically? I put some example of the info sheet, the course catalog, the certificates, and the information corresponding to the information in the arrival and departure certificate, the nominations, the agreements, learning agreements, transcript of records, and even more. This is a screenshot I made of a presentation, and one of the slide is always used in the presentation. And just to show you where are we with the company, Canteri Informatici, the product we created, and the Erasmus without paper. In this case, we are where the university doesn't have is a IT tool for managing Erasmus mobility, but it uses a third-party tool, and the AWP will be integrated in the third-party software. In this case, is the Erasmus Plus organizer. We are going to start these days to integrate the Erasmus, to join the Erasmus without paper network, to make the first tests, because there is a test environment where we can simulate sharing the information and download information from some other university. And then the 1st of July we'll make also a live test with other university in Rome and other around Italy. This will mean that in the organizer, in the Erasmus Plus organizer, will be almost the same, but the information will come automatically and digitally overnight. So no exchange of emails or posts or nothing more. So little bit of information. What is Erasmus without paper? Is an electronic network that the European university can join to exchange information related to Erasmus Plus project in a digital way in real time. There is a single central registry that contains only information about which university joined to the network and which information they share. the actual information stays in a university, in each university server. So Tor Vergata will have his informations, and so they will not be on the registry on a main host. Each university will house its own information and share it with other university. And they will share it by using the API, which are programming interfaces, and so each university can download information from other university belonging to the Erasmus network, Erasmus without paper network. A simple example, for instance, Tor Vergata wants to know the nomination from other universities, so it asks to the central registry if this other university, let's say the Erasmus, the University of Madrid, where I've been studying. And the central registry answered, yes, Universidad Autónoma de Madrid belongs to the network, and here it is the address to download the nomination. So the server, or the Erasmus organizer, let's say, hosted into the Tor Vergata server, let's say overnight, or we can schedule it to do it overnight, or every 2 hours, every 3 hours, we'll download the nomination from each server of each university. There is also the possibility to create a push notification. For instance, if you use a software to manage the Erasmus and you insert an Erasmus student, a notification can be sent via push to our organizer Erasmus. And a notification, it means, hello, there is a new student, you can download it now. So it can be really real time. These are a schema of all the APIs that can be implemented. This means that at the beginning you don't have to implement all the APIs, but you can implement it one by one, and then with the main goal to have all the APIs released in this. I don't know exactly the date, but sooner or later. Let's see a quick overview of the AWPO API. Institution API to share information about the institution, what we usually do with an info sheet. There will also be the possibility to send a fact sheet in PDF. Organizational unit API, which contains information about the structure of the university, the departments, faculties, contacts. Course API, it's the course catalog of the university, so that if we share this information, other university can download it entirely and build a search engine on their side, where when the student compile the learning field in the learning agreement, they can search in the course catalog. Otherwise, the other possibility is that the university implement a simple course replication API. It means that we accept as a parameter the part of the name of some course, and we answer with the list of course from the course catalog. So the search engine in this case is implemented in the university side. It's the interinstitutional agreements API. It is going to be developed even more, but what we have now is it's just for to see what the other part is doing. If the information of the agreements are the same, and if something doesn't correspond, you have to call him and say, hello, the area code is not is wrong. You have to write 041, for instance. But it's going to be developed even more. Outgoing mobility sub API, and which was split in two, because there is only one, but now there are two API to send the information about the outgoing students, and the second one is to sending information about the learning agreement. This also is going to be developed more with integration with the OLA. But we don't have many details now, because it's going to be further development. incoming mobility APIs and the transcripts of records to share information about it. These are the nominations and the transcript of records. So the transcript will travel as information about the exams and the dates, and no more as a document, as a physical document. And they will travel securely. So it's for each of these API, it's possible to implement the corresponding CNR, change notification receiver, to implement push. So for it, not download overnight, but update real time. There are all the other API about the mobility tool, but I still didn't study them because until now we are using this way to generate an Excel file and upload it in the mobility tool. These are all the APIs I spoke about, and I'm finished.
Thank you very much. I'm from Germany, and we had a presentation a couple of weeks ago by the representative of the German DAAD, who is also developing this. One question was the data protection of the students. Do I understand correctly that the information remains at each university and you just open a door for the others to access it?
Exactly.
So it's not on an external server?
Exactly.
Somewhere.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Maybe university has to make a little change to the server, to the network, and the hardware infrastructure, because each university will receive many calls from many other university, and has to respond in real time. So some university we choose only a small virtual machine with a few memory, and a little hard drive has to scale it a little bit more to be ready to respond to every organizer or dashboard from every university. So that's it.
And there are universities in Europe that are already testing the new digital systems. I think the most famous case is the University of Bergen in Norway. What is the timetable here in Italy? So when do you think this will be fully operational?
We'll try to make the first test before the 3 of July by registering in the main host, which contains all the information about which university belong to the network, and to implement the first three API in the institutional, organizational, and the third one, maybe the course catalog. Here it is. Okay. Now the first two, and then maybe another one before the 3 of July, and then we will see.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Yes.
Yeah, congratulations to this tool. I wish we had it at our university, because we're using another mobility tool which is not connected at all to any other campus management student information system that we're using at our university. But what I don't understand is what do you actually mean by mobility tool? Do you have another mobility tool that you use at your university?
No. We only.
But this is replacing like things like mobility online, to understand it.
Mobility tool is for reporting.
Okay, yeah, this is the external reporting system.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we only create a file instead of fill in the mobility tool. You log in, and then you have to insert all the students one by one, name, surname, date of birth, dates. It takes like 15 minutes for each student, but we create an Excel file from the Erasmus Plus organizer with all this information. Just one click, you create the Excel file, and you drag it into the mobility tool, and the mobility tool, it imports all the data. It's a matter of seconds.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
So we've been running an Erasmus Mundus joint or multiple degree program for a long time. And so I was wondering, because we struggle with the different universities' different e-learning platforms. So have you ever considered expanding this to also integrate with an e-learning platform where students can hand in assignments and with the same anti-plagiarism system and so on, because it's difficult for the teachers at different universities reporting grades because the systems are so different, and or to give out course information and post assignments and so on, since we all use very different types of e-learning platforms.
No, sorry,
This is not a way to expand it to that. Okay, sorry, but it's a struggle we have had for a long time.
Thanks a lot, Luigi, for your presentation. Really interesting. So the most interesting for me, for example, news of the future program. Now we have in the daily program my colleague, I'm sorry, Diana and Christoph from the University of Cologne.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. The bad news is we are already behind schedule. The good news is there's 2 presentations in the program by University of Cologne. It's actually only going to be 1, and it's not going to be 50 minutes, but 25, I assume. So we're going to make up for the time that we are behind schedule. We have been asked to present on the international strategy and programs that we have at the Faculty of Cologne, at the Faculty of Management, Economics and Social Sciences in Cologne. So instead of looking into individual programs in depth, we have rather focused on what are our strategic objectives for the future and how we try to operationalize them. That is a tough word. Okay, to make them happen, to get them into to reality. Thank you. Yes. Thanks a lot. I will start by just giving you a broad overview of what we are and who we are and what we do. So it's management, economics, political sciences, and sociology, all combined in one school. It is a rather odd combination in many countries. In Germany, it is quite common. There's many faculties that work under that structure and combine those disciplines together. We are one of the biggest for that. We have currently around 100 professors and a little more than 9,000 students enrolled in our programs. Majority of the students are enrolled in the management program. Economics is the biggest, second biggest column, and then social sciences are the third biggest. Political science being a little bit bigger than sociology at the moment. We run 7 different bachelor programs, 13 master programs. I'm not going to go into the details of those. 7 dual degree or double master's programs. We only have double dual degree programs on the master's level because that is where we think that our students can specialize academically. With that high number of students overall on the bachelor's level, we're rather looking for volume than for specialization. 1 joint degree and 1 executive MBA. To make all this or to work on all of this, we have the International Relations Center. That is, we have an international office on faculty level. There's, of course, in the University of Cologne, there's also a central international office, but all the faculties have their own respective international office, which is a little bit closer to the disciplines that we are doing. Central International Office, of course, does a lot of administration, and we are rather looking into the content of exchange programs to make sure that there's a good match with our partners. There's currently a little bit more than 140 partner universities. Of course, most of them are Erasmus, so 86 in the European region. 19 of them are in one of our most relevant networks, SEMS, which is a management education network. Then in the Asia region, it's 26, 6 in Africa, 4 Oceania, and 23 in the Americas. very quick overview about our programs, our standard programs, without going into the specializations. The Bachelor of Social Sciences, Bachelor of Science in Social Sciences, that gets people to later, with that bachelor degree, they can apply for either sociology or political sciences in Cologne, so that is a combined bachelor still. And we have one economics bachelor program with a focus on social sciences especially. Then, of course, on master's level, we have a dedicated political sciences program, just as well as sociology. And for the social sciences, we run 2 dual degrees at the moment, one on European studies with Maastricht University, and demography and social inequality with the University of Groningen in the Netherlands, which is fairly new. The Maastricht one, I think we developed in 2011 already, and the social inequality program is from 2016, I think is when we first started selecting the cohorts. All right, and with regards to strategy, what our objectives are. If we define them, we have defined them on different levels. So we have, first of all, the objective for bachelor students. And I already mentioned we have currently, I think, 6,000 something bachelor students, so it's very difficult to really go into specialized programs with that amount of students. So on the bachelor's level, we are currently rather looking in making international experience happen for everyone. That means, of course, high volume, and high volume always goes along with, let's say, quality going to a lesser important, being a lesser important denominator. But we want all of our bachelor students, in the very best case, that would be our wish, that all of them do an international experience. Not all of them want to do it, we do not force them, but we try to encourage that at least and open the possibilities. For the master students, that is more specialized, that is in close cooperation with the faculty, with our professors, of course. That means we want on specialized programs such as the double degree students, we want faculty to be involved, we consult with faculty to make sure that they have a good match and that they select universities that they feel are an adequate match for their academic purposes. And also our master's programs are, of course, a recruitment tool. The more attractive they are with respect to internationalizations, the higher the chance that we can recruit international students, which is something that many German universities still struggle with, most of all because English is not yet a studying environment in Germany, even if there are many English taught courses in many universities nowadays. Administration, street science, the whole culture in Germany is still very German in many degrees. So really recruiting international students as degree-seeking students, we feel is something that is still a challenge for us, and I think that is true for many German universities, or public universities maybe. Faculty members, I strive that only very briefly. We want to increase our international faculty, also because of the reason set. To be present internationally, you have to be able to showcase that on the faculty level as well. And also to make it get, aside from good students, get international researchers of high caliber into the faculty. And then lastly, administration, that is a little bit more difficult because it's on various levels. That is, I go a little bit into detail in a second, but that is facilitate everything that that relies, or that is in touch with student exchange. Okay, and how we do that, how to reach those objectives, we have measures, and then how we make it happen, how we try to make it happen. For the bachelor students, so get a high number of bachelor students, we continuously expand the number of our partner universities. That is just an ongoing process because there are more and more universities popping up. There are ever more universities we feel that now get a certain number of English taught courses which we need for our students. So that is a development of the last 10 years or so, that you can actually add 5, 6, 7 universities each year to your portfolio, which was a little bit more difficult some 10 years ago. Establish high volume MOUs. So going into bigger numbers, encourage our students to go on a free moving exchange, as we call it. I think that is a German word that actually made it, a German English word that actually made it into the international terminology. So encourage our students to go abroad on their own if they don't find an adequate offer or program in what we offer. Support them in doing internships. Establish successful short programs and recruit students with international aspirations. That is something that we feel we have been missing in the past. On the bachelor level, many students come from the area of Cologne or the wider area of Cologne. That means they choose a university out of comfort reasons. We want the students to come to Cologne because they see, wow, in Cologne I can do a bachelor degree already with an international outreach, and I want to make that happen. That is far more important for us than having students that come to Cologne and only decide in the third semester that it would be maybe nice to do an international exchange. They should actually decide for Cologne because of the international opportunities that we offer. And in exact numbers, or to be precise how we do that, for the high volume exchange, we are now trying to create MOUs with 10 plus students rather than having 142 students agreements, rather have 6, 7 with, in the very best case, even 20 students, and send big cohorts out. That may go, that is something that the in-group feeling that international students, if 20 students from Cologne are at one university, I do see that as a downgrade in terms of the international experience that they make. On the other side, if we want to send all our students abroad, at a certain point you have to send more than only 2 or 3 students. It's just not possible otherwise. We created a free mover guidance and an internship guidance where in the past we thought that all students should have to go with our programs because we can watch the quality of our programs more closely. We have now decided to go the other way around. We support students in making free mover choices and going abroad independently to raise that number as well. And instead of stopping them from doing it because we cannot control quality, we try to steer them into programs that we feel are adequate. Doesn't always work. Some of them still go to universities where they come back with transcript of records where you have a chess course on it, or surfing on the Sunshine Coast is very famous with us. And they also try to get credits for that occasionally, but that's okay. On the other side, if that happens for 1 out of 50 students, you still have 50 students that you could send abroad and really don't have much administrational issues with. The same is true for internship guidance. That is something that is very difficult in terms of placement, but we try to get them, to encourage them to do an internship, and we try to help them as good as possible to do the internship abroad. Introduction of an English taught BSc program. We are currently in this process. We have a list of 60 plus courses taught in English in our bachelor's programs, but there's not a comprehensive English taught program. That is something for the next reaccreditation that we're looking at. I think we're going to start with management because that's just the biggest cohort we have. If that runs successfully, we hope to expand it to other programs as well. Awareness of international scope of programs, I just touched that. We want to recruit our students who are aware of the international dimension of the programs we offer and decide to come to Cologne because of that, and not only realize that this is happening when they're in Cologne. And 2 specific programs that we've introduced. We have a very high demand from our students to go to the United States and to go to Asia. And in Asia, it's usually the Asia Light version, so Singapore or Hong Kong, because it's a westernized Asian experience. So that is where most of our students want to go to. So in 2000, because we could not supply the demand for places in the United States without buying places, basically paid the tuition fee, which we could not afford as an institution. Our students do not want to afford it. So we thought about the opportunity of running our own program in the United States. So in 2011, we started running, no, in 2013, sorry, we started with a program 7 weeks during the summer break. We send students to Manhattan. We recruit international faculty, Northern American faculty to teach the courses, but the program is fully organized in Cologne. So we rent the rooms at American universities. We contract the professors over there as freelancers of the University of Cologne. There's a coordinator of Cologne going over there. And with that program, we could create 30 plus students on the master's level, on the bachelor's level, and around 20 students on the master's level in New York. It's a costly, but it's cheaper. The students have to pay for that because it's an extra program. So this is it's not a tuition fee-based program because there's still, the overhead is completely paid by the University of Cologne. So it's not we don't make any profit with that. But it's a subsidized program by the university. But still students can go abroad, do almost the full semester workload. They get 24 ECTS in the United States over the summer break. So the students who select very smartly, they can actually save one semester because they can finish their master's degree in 3 semesters or the bachelor degrees in 5 semesters by seizing that opportunity. And because that has proven to be very successful, we've just now started the same in Hong Kong. We're going to go to Hong Kong the first time now in summer, starting with the master's cohort, but we're going to expand it to the bachelor's cohort as well if that is if that proves to be as successful as New York. Yeah, that's. For the master students, for the master students, as indicated earlier, we are rather looking for high quality dual degrees and maybe with fewer students then. Rely on very selected high quality partners. There's the selection process of for our master partners goes more in depth, especially when looking at dual degrees, of course. This will be true for most of you. We would like to create more comprehensive partnerships, so trying to have specialized partners or preferred partnerships, basically, where we go student exchange, research exchange and all that. It's not always that easy because many of our partner universities, or many of the research colleagues of our professors are in countries where tuition fees play a big role. So they would like to see student exchange with those universities, but those universities in terms of administration will not give us slots in their master programs for free. So this is kind of a challenge that we are facing, but the objective would be to have a comprehensive portfolio of cooperation measures going way beyond the student exchange. Run all programs in English. That is something that we have implemented already. There's, except for accounting, I think all our programs are being taught in English now. Accounting just because German accounting you cannot teach in English. I'm not even sure you can teach it in German, but I'm very sure it's not able to do it in English. And the same thing is as I said for the bachelor programs is also true for the master programs. Of course, recruit international or students with international aspirations and establish successful short programs. So in terms of operationalization, I'm never going to say that word again. We currently have 7 double master's programs in various disciplines. We have implemented those and we are growing. We are currently adding 1 new program every 2 years or so. The strong involvement of faculty in the dual degrees, which means basically that we tell our professors if they want to or not. If we have double degree students, we want to have one professor that ensures that the master thesis is being supervised and maybe also co-supervised through Skype interviews with the partner university and all that. We have started in the beginning by saying we're just gonna implement the programs, and we will see, the professors will see eventually that this is one of their going to be one of their tasks. Has created a lot of discussions which were unpleasant at times. So now we make sure that we have one faculty member that feels fully responsible for that and make sure that all his or her colleagues are on board. Otherwise it's not going to work. You cannot steer that from an administration perspective. Definition of partner institutions with professorial council. So there are only partner institutions that have gone through an internal accreditation process, being acknowledged by all the professors in our faculty. Of the respective discipline, of course. Awareness of international scope of programs for students, same as for bachelor students. Introduction of English program for all disciplines, I had that right. And the same is true what I said for bachelor students. We started with master students actually, so all programs are now, or should be open, NYC is open for bachelor and master programs anyhow, and Hong Kong in the long run hopefully too. Administration is one of the things that students are always worried about, and more so than ever is the credit transfer. I remember when I was going abroad, I was very interested in many things, but not in the courses and the credits that I would get and transfer. That is fully different. Our students, that's the first thing they ask is, how do we transfer our grades? How do we transfer the credits? How can we guarantee it? So that is something that we are continuously trying to improve. Integration of incoming students, we have learned and understood that this is not, that this is something that you also, there's not certain, like the buddy program fulfills one aspect. There's visa, housing support and all that is another aspect, but you have to have a comprehensive portfolio which is known and visible to the students before they even come or decide for your university, because that's going to make a change for the next generations. Incoming students who go back and tell good stories about your institution, that is something that you want to make sure that other international students come. So there's, we constantly try to improve that as well. Gamification of bureaucratic processes. Germany is an administration-heavy country. That is still so and probably will never change. And many of our international students, just as well as German students, are overwhelmed sometimes with the bureaucracy that they have to go through. One of the complaints we have in internal meetings heard a lot is, well, the students read the emails anymore. They don't read through the emails. We send them all the information in long emails, and all the information is available on the website. They should know it, but they don't, because they don't read it anymore. So the issue is, yeah, that is true, but how do you go about it? Because once they're there and they haven't read the information, they're still there and they're making us work for something that they missed, and you cannot say, well, it's your responsibility, thanks and goodbye, because then you lose a lot of cooperation agreements that are worthwhile. So we are now in the state of trying and experimenting with gamification of bureaucratic processes, meaning that the information that they have to read, they have to read. There's nothing we can do about it, but we want to make reading fun. We want to make them read it through the end, through certain elements that come out of video games, and then make sure, for example, to have a kind of a reward system in terms of you don't get tangible rewards, but you get points or something like that. So that students are in a process where it feels a little bit like a video game. And when they reach the next step, there's a new level that they can achieve. And by that, making sure that they read the information through, to the very end. Gamification is a concept that is in many companies have already implemented that. You probably all know it. Everybody is, if you go through a survey, you often have that kind of thing. Yeah, and we try to implement that now for our especially incoming student administration process, because I have to admit we have had a German student who worked for us as an intern, and he looked through our information and he said he's not a Cologne University student, but he's a German student at a different institution in Cologne, and he said it's just not, even though he's German, he doesn't understand what he's supposed to do, because it is very bureaucratic and we have so many contact partners and all that, and we want to facilitate that and make it easy for the students. Increased number of English taught courses, that's an ever-going discussion, and create an international environment. That is something that we also, I mean, many of our databases still, you know, they will have a English mask to 60% or so, but they will still, in the database and the math, there will still be English words and all, German words not translated. So that is something that we need to work on continuously. The credit transfer we have approached by creating studies abroad modules. So we now have in all our study programs, we have a module of 24 ECTS or 2 times 12 ECTS, which is called Studies Abroad. And the only determination in terms of disciplines that is in, it has to be from one of the disciplines of our faculty. So basically that makes it easy for students to go abroad and select courses from a wide range of courses and just get the credits for that. Because on the bachelor level, very honestly, I want them to go abroad and have a good time and study abroad. If they do something which is not management or not economics, but somehow related to it, so be it. That's the part of going abroad. If we want them to do courses the same courses that we have in Cologne, we don't need to send them abroad. That is, so that is something that works out quite well and students appreciate it. We have created a database for credit transfers, so students can now enter the course they want to take abroad into the database, and they will see if this course has been credited before already, and that has been credited in this module Studies Abroad, or if it has been credited as an individual credit transfer, course by course credit transfer. They can see that, so they have not a guarantee, but a very good probability that this course is going to be credited once again. So before they go abroad, long before they go abroad, they can just enter all the courses, and they have a 75 to 90% chance that all their courses are going to be credited, and that gives them a big, relief, and takes a lot of pressure out of their considerations. We have created an incomings program, as we call it. So that is a program where students are selected course portfolio of courses for international students only. There's currently 150, 160 courses in there, so there's still it's a broad range. But we have 750 courses altogether at our faculty, and we learned that for the incomings, it's sometimes very overwhelming to understand what all those courses are, what are the prerequisites and all that. So we picked a couple of courses that we found are most legible for international students and put them in one program. We adjusted our academic calendar. German academic calendar is way off the international one, so our semesters from October until end of January, beginning of February, and April until end of July, more or less. Since most of our students, our international students, come in wintertime, in the fall term, we have now adapted our academic calendar for those students. So we have an early leaver program. Students can pick courses where they have an examination by the middle of December already, which makes it easier for them to be home at Christmas, and therefore is more attractive, especially for non-European partners, to send students into. We just talked about that when we heard about the paperless Erasmus network. For 7 years now, we are developing our own student exchange database for our office only, together with the IT department of the University of Cologne, something that is we completely control this. We didn't buy a solution, we created our own solution. We can fully control the system, we can make amendments and changes wherever we want. It's a lot of work, but it also makes working a lot easier if you don't have to pressure your processes into a system that somebody else implemented or developed, but you can develop your own system and design it according to your needs. That is, hopefully we are going to finish this process by the end of the year, and then we hope that the Erasmus paperless system does not make it completely obsolete next year, because that would be a big downside. The student-run project gamification, already mentioned and talked about. English proficiency for admin staff means that we are working together with a language school in Cologne, and they offer English courses for employees of higher education institutions. They develop those courses explicitly for us, and now we can send our employees, admin staff there if they want to. There's no pressure, no force behind it, but that is something to encourage them and hopefully get development in it over the years. In the English environment, already talked about that. Lastly, and I'm just going to basically repeat what's in here, we want to increase the number of international faculty, facilitate the recruitment through additional support for international applicants, create international environment, and also for the recruitment calendar, for the recruitment system, we have to adapt to the international calendar, because we also feel that this is a big thing, that there are certain times when you recruit faculty internationally, the German calendar is again a little bit off that. So that is something where we have to harmonize the dates. And then those are the links to our website. In case there would be more interest, I can just very briefly open this one maybe, because I think that is always the most interesting one. Here's information about our programs in Hong Kong and in New York, basically. If you have more interest in that, I can go. Oh, sorry, doesn't even show. Okay, I'll be able to talk about it then, if you have questions to that. That's that for me.
Hello, thank you. Indeed, it's a sort of comment. I don't know whether I am the only one coming from a UK university. Probably yes. So I've been trying to keep a low profile, to be honest, and I'm here to learn and to signal goodwill and so on. But I couldn't help noticing the irony that the word English was everywhere in your presentation.
Yeah.
On the one hand, we are making our best to leave the European Union, so we are in a funny situation. It's also funny that the only one representing a UK university is an Argentinian, so everything is upside down here. But so I'm not going to talk about Brexit, but of course Brexit was the elephant in the room in every conversation I had over the 2 days. I'm going to focus on something more structural than was implicit in your presentation and in many other presentations. The challenge I face as doing internationalization, exchange, Erasmus, in representing a politics department. And we are a politics network, but broadly understood. I wish to have the kind of institutional setup that you have in Germany with sociology, business, and all these nice things. But we are part of a faculty of humanities on the other hand. And that creates, I mean, it's also interesting, but completely different time of logics. And for example, now we have been asked in the context of Brexit or post-Brexit and post-Erasmus, whether we may have to come at some point with a list of priority partners, because the university is also assuming that universities in Europe are also going to target, they are already targeting universities in the UK. But always my headache, and it was also in the conversation I had with Eva when we were walking up the hill, is that I don't know where I am representing Strathclyde as a science university, technological university with the values, or the politics department as such, or the faculty of humanities. And this is always a struggle, because I mean the internationalization strategy as you presented. For example, every time I go to an internationalization meeting, as Anita was saying yesterday, they hate me in a way, because I am always trying to push the social sciences politics agenda that is completely different from the agenda they have in central office using your... So this is a question for you, but also for everyone. I guess that we all face this kind of challenge. So in central office, it's all about India, China, the Middle East, whatever, but as I was saying this morning, if I teach human rights and democracy, then it's very difficult for me to engage with certain markets, as they call them. Right. So I mean, the question is for you, but also for how to, what is your reflection on how to navigate all these multiple identities we have, representing political science, but also our faculty and then the university as a whole?
I can start.
Or even Germany.
For University of Cologne, I think many German universities, or all German universities, are very, very different within each other. For us, the separation between the central level and the faculty level is quite easy. We are not a tuition fee-based or driven system, which makes it very easy because Central International Office does not have to recruit a number of international students and all that. So the separation that we have for our corporation is they take care of degree-seeking international students and they take care of administration such as enrollment. As soon as students are in the program, they are our students. So everything content-wise is our program. That also means that international study programs, such as dual degrees or joint degrees, fully developed and designed by us. We tell them to enroll the students, but we select the students ourselves on the master's level at least. Bachelor level is a different thing because there's other legal requirements. But there's a separation, the separation is very easy. Where it becomes more difficult, and I agree with you, we represent in many cases, most of the networks we are in, we are with business schools. business schools have a streamlined process globally. There's the same deadlines, the same structures, the same processes everywhere. It is very easy. You send students, it's the same courses everywhere as well. So it's very easy. You can just send a high number of students. You can send abroad, and the Erasmus having an agreement with a Chinese university in management is not quite as easy as an Erasmus agreement, but it's not far from that because everybody has the same rules, regulations in the contracts. So we always have the challenge when we go to political sciences department or schools of humanities where the political sciences are located, because all of a sudden there's a big variety. There's a big, that is way more diverse in terms of administration and all that. And that truly makes it sometimes difficult, and I couldn't tell you what we have no answer to that. We see that and we have to deal with it, but I wouldn't know how to overcome it.
I have a very basic question. How do you transfer credits into ECTS? What is there a policy just for the university? Because when I check it with different universities, there is like a credit from Chengchi, for instance, is like 0.75 with one Dutch university and 3 ECTS in a Spanish university. So it's really, like crazy. And we struggle with you that they have like contact hours only, so you cannot really say one ECTS is 30 hours because you don't really know. And
right.
So what are you doing?
It's we have a center for credit transfer actually that would be in charge of that. Usually we do it in our office. We try to pilot that for the whole university. So we whenever there's also a university where our students go to as free mover, we need to have a calculation, kind of a system, but we do it for each individual university in our office. We come up with the code, we look through the websites, we are in touch with the administrators, and we take sometimes also credit transfers that are off what other universities in Germany would do, just because we feel this is adequate for the institution, the courses and all that. And then in the very best case, we pilot this and the other institutions follow up because it's way easier if you set the pace instead of having to adapt something that somebody else has developed. So we try to always be ahead and give our own credit transfer system and then put it online for the students to see and understand, and hope the rest of the university follows without discussion.
It would be my question. What about your, like administration of your university? Do they accept your transfers?
Yeah. Do they? Central office doesn't have anything to do with it, right? It's completely done in our faculty. No, we do it. It's completely in our hand. There's nobody who influences that in any way.
Christoph, thanks for your presentation. Could you say a little bit more about how you make reading information and administrative procedures more fun?
It is. I don't have the presentation here. We have had there's a student congress, a student business congress in Cologne every year, and part of the student congress is that there are students, international students, coming to Cologne and they do creation labs. So we can, as a university, hire them for a couple of days to tackle a topic that is of interest for us. So we had a couple of student teams think about how we can actually make that, and they came up with presentations. And just to give you a couple of things is they developed a plane travel basically. So there's different stops on this plane travel, and on every stop there's something for them to do and understand and realize, this I have to download, this is what I have to do now. So I kind of tear the whole process apart, the comprehensive process, and make little packages out of it for the students to go along. And then they will on their screen, they will see this plane and arrive somewhere. Then it will also give some cultural highlight about the carnival in Cologne or whatever it is. And then there will be, there were thoughts of really having a point system, a reward system, and the person with the highest score at the end gets a T-shirt of the University of Cologne or something like that. That is one way to go if you do not want to spend any money on that. Then there's a psychological component to it. Apparently, it's very well researched in behavioral economics. That if you just have a score counter at the upper right of your screen, which says you have now 10 extra points, or if you do that within 2 days, you can get 15 extra points or something like that. It works. It makes people rather stick to it. You cannot overdo it. There's a certain threshold that you cannot pass. Then it gets annoying. But you have, if you apply it wisely, there are apparently ways of making students or making people follow the process.
Okay, I see that. So this would be information that's on your website, and that students access and go through this system.
Right, that is something
rather than you sending stuff out to them with attachments and saying, please read this, and so it's there in a package and they kind of sign on. And then they go through this process?
Yeah, that is actually, we have this database I talked about, the Visa Exchange database. That is where all students, they enter the contact addresses, and all the documents they need are there for download, are available. And in the very best case, we find a technical solution to integrate that into that database. But we're working on that at the moment. It's still, we're at the beginning. We've just started this process in March, I think. So I guess we'll need another year to be very clear about what we do and how we do it.
Thanks. Sounds interesting.
I have just a question about the summer program in New York or Hong Kong. If I understood what you said, you have American faculty doing classes in New York, for instance. I guess they are paid by Cologne, or so. I would be interested to have some more about what students have to pay, how much fees are, how you can get a kind of balance between costs and.
There's no balance. As I said, there's the overhead. The administrative overhead is completely paid by the university. What the students pay is 1,890 euros for the bachelor's program and 2,490 euros for the master's program at the moment. For both programs, around 7 weeks. That covers the contracts of the faculty to a big extent, not fully, but there's a little bit left over, plus the room rent for the classrooms that we have to rent. We are at the Kimmel Center at NYU usually for a couple of weeks, which is very nice for the students because it's downtown Manhattan, and NYU is a name that the students like to see, even though it's not an NYU program. They're happy to be in NYU rooms, that, as I said, that covers the expenses that we have in the location of Manhattan. It does not cover anything of the program administration that runs throughout the year.
Hi, I'm Gladys from the University of Mannheim, Germany. So we have an issue with English taught courses. It's not a problem in political science. Like half of the courses are in English, that's okay. But other departments at our faculty, like psychology or sociology, they do not have enough English taught courses. So one of your goals is to increase the number of English taught courses. Do you have any specific steps in mind how to get there? What kind of incentives would you offer for the teachers to do that? Thank you.
We've had an incentive system some 10 years ago. We got rid of it 5 years ago. So they were paid. There was an incentives payment for the not for the person, not as salary, but for the respective institute of where the professor or the teacher was located. So they would get something they would get institutional money basically that they could spend for conferences or things like that. We got rid of that 5 years ago because our dean said, and I think he was a good call. He said English teaching is not something that we should incentivize anymore. English teaching in English is something that should be the default option, basically. The issue that we have, and probably the same as you, is in the bachelor programs. It is we in North Rhine-Westphalia, we need a special permission by the federal state to run programs in English because. Entirely in, but that also means I would like to see all of our electives in the bachelor's program in English. But that means that there's no German track in the program anymore because students have to select a couple of elective either way. So we are now. That is something why we always had to keep a couple of electives in German. And to overcome this is now the introduction of a comprehensive English taught program, because you always have a variety. What the issue that we always had is we have a number of English taught courses, but they change every semester. So it's very difficult with our partner universities to guarantee that number of X courses is being offered next year again. And to overcome that, we're now trying this English taught program. Otherwise, we see that young faculty coming in, they are not reluctant to teach in English anymore. The elder professors we don't need to incentivize it anymore. The legal issues are more challenge for us than the willingness of faculty.
Thank you so much for your presentation, your fast going. Then now is the moment of my colleague Damiano Pinnacchio of the International Relations Office.
Good morning, everyone. As Gianfranco said, I'm Damiano from the Coordinator of International Relations Office at the central level in Tor Vergata. And from a couple of weeks ago, I was also elected the chair of the International Relations Officers and the UNICA network. Is the network of the capital of the university based in the capital of Europe. And last year, I was also member of the EIA. So before I start my presentation, I just would like to invite you, all of you, to next conference in September in Helsinki, where there is the EIA, as you know, is a huge association for internationalization, where there is many opportunity to have some networking with other colleagues, not only in Europe, but also outside of Europe, and to attend some interesting seminars, so networking, training, and also possibility to develop some project together. And I'm member, as I said, of the group of the Cooperation for Development, so I also suggest you to participate if you come to the events that we organize. That is a dinner as a moment of networking and discussion, as well as to this session that is a moment of discussion between European officers and also from outside of Europe in order to understand how much possible project together and how to develop it. And just another invitation for you between 15 and 16 of October, next October, where we host a conference with Latin American universities. And it could be a moment also to discuss and network with them and with very interesting topics between the two areas of Europe and Latin America and Caribbean. I start with my presentation with the focus on internationalization, with the two channels of internationalization at home, as they said, and internationalization outside of the nationality. And then with a specific focus on the program of dual degree, joint degree and dual degree. So I would like to share with you some experience that we ran in the past. Just few, this one you already know, that is information about our university, and I would like to underline our mission and our goal that is based on the Agenda 2030 for development. And we then develop it in three main pillars, that is didactics, research, and transmission, and use as key word that is internationalization, interdisciplinarity, innovation, and transdisciplinarity in order to cross some different scientific areas, not only as run the classical program. And this takes us to go in another word that we make, a new approach, that is generativity. What is generativity? Is to maximize our goal in terms of interaction between different aspects of the scientific area and also to foster students with a new approach to think about tolerance, about new culture, about inclusiveness. That is very important for the new generation and the new program of the university, that all this coming in what we call social innovation, because also the task of the university is to involve and to create development in the area where they work, not only to have a look at internationalization abroad, but also in the territory that where he works. So our action basically is running in three main pillars. That is the educational program with the increase of new curricula, research, and to develop some research program in terms with the focus on international interdisciplinarity, and what we call third mission, that is a bridge between the university and the society, and of course the territory, in order to foster the development of the territory where the university work. And this is a kind of faction figure that I think Corrado yesterday showed you, so I can run on these aspects. Also about the school, that we are comprehensive university, as you know. And so, starting with the activities of internationalization. Internationalization at home, as we call this channel, is the possibility to create some new program to attract new students, foreign students. But you, in these terms, we, as many universities, create and launch some program in English. Why in English? Because it's a tool in order to, is most languages talked in around the world. So it's quite easy to study and to talk in English. Many talk in English in the world. But as you can see, we launch many programs in all our schools are involved in this process at different level, bachelor level, Master of Science, and of course all our PhD is taught in English. There is also a version in Italian, but the most of them are in English. And but it is not enough when you want to create the condition of internationalization. Why? Because you have also to attach to the program in English some services for the students in order to create the condition of a really international environment for them. And we try to develop some kind of services, like the housing. As you can see here, the picture that is a part of in our campus, where there is huge many buildings where students, international and national, have to stay together, to work together, to study together, and to spend time together also in a leisure time. And many other services for them in order to give them some benefits, and many services, and also related to the study, because we, as the library, we experiment to give the library in all our school open all the day, and also in the weekend. It was very hard for us, because we are not in the downtown, so, and in order to attract students and to give them to study also in the evening and the weekend. And also for a leisure time, we have many activities that we can involve students, and together with the national students, so foreign and national students. The most requested are the sailing and also the football team, but also some other activities related to music and to the botanic garden. Then we organize also, involve the international student with the national in terms of inclusiveness. How? To create some different events for them. Like Cineforum, like international dinner, where we invite all international students, and the national one to create and provide to the other colleagues the typical meal of the country, the typical drink of the country. In this way, we can also run some specific program for different nationality. That is very well appreciated for international students. Like also some, some initiative like a picnic in some green area in Rome and around Rome, and some cultural excursion in cooperation with the student association, because we involve too much the student association to create this approach and this environment that include the national and international students as well. And we also have some initiative that we run in terms of innovation for students, and not only for students but also for the environment. That is part of what we call the third mission. So we have this pathological theatre that where we involve students in order to give some show, prepare some show for people that unfortunately are less lucky than some of us. But, because there are students that, not only Italian but also international one, that make many action in terms of voluntary. And in this way they are very happy to participate in these events. As well as these activities, this lab, this experiment where we, with the focus of social responsibility, we involve students to work and to act in the territory. So to teach to some people, not only students, and also to let them understand what is the importance of the sustainability, of the tolerance with other nationality, because the problem of the different nationality, different culture is not only for the university, but also in the society, in the city, and to be part of the city, to understand the culture of the people where they live. It is very, very appreciated, this kind of initiative. And this is the part of internationalization at home, the condition to create it. And in terms of international cooperation, we have many agreements in terms of extra EU in Erasmus, and we are member also of many international networks. And we are very happy to be part also of Monika's network as well. And these are some actions that we run in terms of to foster the mobility. Of course, there are programs, the normal one, the well-known as Erasmus+, Marie Curie, International Summer School, but also we run some specific program from using the financial resource of our balance sheet. That are some program related to the students, that is the final dissertation abroad, and the overseas program, that is the possibility to give students, to help the students in terms of financial resource to go abroad, to create and to prepare the final dissertation, the thesis, and also to spend a semester outside of Europe. And another important is also a program of visiting professor and visiting scholar, where we create some call for international scholar and professor. Why this? Because if we run an international course, it's okay that some of the courses is taught by Italian professor, but the value added is when coming other professor, foreign professor, to give a different approach, to give a new vision of some topics, and also to talk about their different culture. That is very, very interesting. And as I mentioned yesterday in some discussion that we have, about the services of the students, we provide for them some courses of Italian culture and languages when they arrive, full immersion courses before starting the course. Also, if they choose English course. Why this? Because they have to understand where they arrive, what is the possibility to be included in the society. And also some other courses like the team building that Professor Piga mentioned yesterday, and we experimented in some course. Also, all this action is to include students, foreign students in our university, in our community, and in Rome. That many of these tasks are running by the Welcome Office that we create and that work at the beginning of each semester. Well, one other aspect, we go in deep in the dual degree program, the joint program, because it's one of the aspects of the internationalization. As you can see here, we have different programs at bachelor level, a Master of Science, and we also have some program at PhD level. And we involve all our school. There are someone that is coming from a Mundus project that we run with other universities. And there are some of them that are joint master degree, not only a dual degree. About the dual degree courses. So as a tool, at international level. This one just some summary of the historical excursus. This program started with the launch of the Bologna process, so the European higher education area, that introduced two main aspects and tools in order to foster the mobility across countries, not only in Europe, but outside of Europe as well. That is the ACTS and the diploma supplement. And then from 1999, there was an increase of this attention of the government and the agency, and of course of the university, to run this kind of program as a tool of internationalization. And we arrived to, then there was the joint degree, the integration of curricula, and also some aspect related to recognition of the joint degree and what they involve in this action, that is the mobility students, the curriculum development, and the joint quality insurance. Then, as a financial support, initially it was inside the lifelong learning program, but then there was inside the Erasmus program and the Tempus. And not only European, but also outside of Europe, as you can see here. And many other areas was involved in this kind of program because was well accepted from other areas of the world, like Asia in 2009, 2010, Africa and Middle East, and Latin America in 2006. Also, if they have different kind of educational system. So in order to understand well what is a joint program, there is some, I prepared some definition, because in some cases the professors and scholars make some confusion, but also some other colleagues that is different kind of understand, especially between different countries, because there is different definition. Joint program, as you can see here, is the program that two institutions or more can develop together. But it doesn't mean that have to issue a dual degree. This is very important to underline. And then here there are all the meaning about this kind of joint program. The joint degree, what is coming from the joint program, but is also a program that is that award one single degree. In these cases, in talking about the program that you can create, the joint degree is a new program, an ex novo program that the two universities have not running already, but they decide to implement it. That could be the mobility, could be 1 or 2 or more semesters, because it's a new program, completely new. And what is the degree award? I just underlined the main issue related to this one, is one single issued by the two institutions or more institutions. They issue just one degree that according and recognized in all the system involved in. And it needs more time to develop a joint degree, because there is They need an accreditation from the ministry or from the national agency that work on it. And you have to respect some specific condition in order to run this kind of program. And usually the tuition fee is paid in each institution. It depends where the students enroll the first time. The dual degree. Dual degree is more easy to implement between institutions because there is is based on an existing program. The curricula, the specific curricula that the students have to attend a part of the courses, during a part of the courses, is created jointly by the two universities. Recognition task, a huge recognition task is needed in order to develop this kind of program, and usually the mobility related on is 2 semesters. And the degree are 2 degrees. This is the main difference. And it is a single institution, each single institution deliver award their own degree, according with the accreditation that was authorized by the Ministry of Education. When you run a dual degree, I mean in Italy, you don't need to accreditate ex novo the program, because the accreditation and the quality is related to the program that you run in Italy in this case, and also in the other one. The tuition fee usually works as an exchange program, because students involved in the tuition in the program is just pay the tuition fee in their home institution. But probably you know everything about that. It's just a few words about the diploma supplement, that is an additional document that testify all the activities that the students run in the program, not only in the dual program, but also in other activities related on. And it is the only documents where you can write, and this kind of program is dual degree, because usually you cannot write a dual degree on the diploma, because the diploma is a national diploma. But this document is related to that one. And I just would like to underline, that in case of a dual degree, the institution have to provide 1 diploma supplement, 1 joint diploma supplement. Here, what is the benefits in terms why we need to run a dual degree? There is some benefits related to the students, some benefits related to the institution and to the academicians. And what are? There is the rise the visibility, increase the recruitment, and increase the revenue in such cases, build new network, improve the quality on curricula, and can also increase the competence of students and staff. Not only by the mobility, but also when you receive the professor, when you receive different colleagues from the administration. What is the benefits of academics? There is the opportunity to teach in a new context, and to teach in a different, using a different methods to understand a different approach of the institution where he or she is involved in. And you have a different classroom, because if you go in another country, of course you have different people, from different culture that probably you didn't met in your own institution. And you can have also research contact, and there is a new possibility of opportunities in terms of research and project, and also increase the intercultural competencies. For students, the advantages and the benefits is that they can study in a program that is completely innovative with respect to the other one, to the classical one. They can also get international experience, and what is the most important, in my opinion, is they increase the job opportunity, because they have access to the new labor market, and they skip the procedure that is very long, expensive, for get the recognition of the diploma in the new in extra-European countries, for instance, and but also in Europe. Because if you get the degree in Italy, you have to run some process if you want to work in France, for instance, or in another European countries, because there is some procedure that you have to do in order to have recognized your degree. And with this approach, we can skip this procedure. Well, we arrived to how when you design the new program in terms of dual degree. There is some steps. So you have to think, everyone have to think the strategic partner, matching the program, and to define the year of mobility, matching the program is the most important and very hard task, especially when you have to deal with a program that is outside of Europe, with a completely different system. And then to set up the legal framework where you can define the eligibility criteria, the number of CTS, level of languages, in order to admit students to the program. Because the other difference that I skip is between the dual degree and joint degree. That is, the joint degree you can involve in the program everyone that is enrolled in the course. For dual degree, not only are involved in the course, there is some criteria that they have to fulfill. And then the number of students involved, the criteria of the final thesis, and the management commission that has, as mentioned the colleague before, is related to the professor in some cases that have to take care about the students, about the year, about this kind of program. Because students, when they need to help in terms also of supervisor. And here I just take some example of the dual degree that we have. I just mentioned two examples. One is at bachelor level, another one is a master science of level. Just to let you understand what is can be the main difficulties and differences between when you run the matching of the program. In these cases, we were very lucky because the program of the two institutions is with a university in Skopje is very close and quite similar to the other one. And basically, the differences are quite just in some program, but finally you can find everyone in every sector the same credits, and finally the credits are the same. Here there is another case with the University of Costanza in a Master of Science in Economics, where there is some differences. The differences can be in the whole field of economics, because we have 24 credits, here 30, and then also in some other activities, 12 and 8. What is the meaning? The meaning is that you have to reach the same amount of credit for every year, because this is what your system, your Ministry of Education asks you, to fulfill the minimum requirements of the degree, because we have to be able to issue a degree, because it's a title that we issue. So we can have a different combination here in order to create and to fix the credits related to the ACTS, if we talk about Europe, or to manage in such terms in hour of teaching, because some system is related to, is focused on the hour of teaching. So I just remind the China educational system that is more focused on hour of teaching. So we have to mix the hour of teaching in order to match in a very good way the program. Another example that I can mention is the dual degree with the Russian university, because in Russia there is a different system, so you have to match different year because they count in year. So it was an exercise to define the 4 year, to combine the 4 year with the 3 years in terms of bachelor, and in master more or less are the same, 1 year and a half, 2 year and a half with our 2 years. So, and this one just to say some suggestion, and when there is the idea to run a new program. In my opinion, there is a few words that we have to focus. And the one is the learning outcome goal. What is the learning outcome goals when we think about a dual degree? We want that the students that participate to this program get this kind of knowledge. And we have not to focus on the national program with all the limitation that our system give to us. I talk about Italy because Italy is one of the educational systems that give us many, many limitations in terms of credits, in terms of area of activities, and so on. And if we have clear in mind this outcome, the other word is that I underline too much is flexibility. So we have to skip all the grid and the limitation of our national system, but think in a very flexible way to international program, and also related to the different combination. Before the colleagues say that there is, in such cases, the program, the courses in English can change from 1 year another one. So when you fix your program with your agreements, in the next few years probably they change. So we have not to focus in this in very rigid way in the first one, but try to exchange the new activities that coming in order to be flexible and in order to run the program, because we say that there is many benefits about that. This is very important too, that is the recognition task, because most of the activities related to the dual degree is focused on recognition task, because you can have different activities that you need to recognize. We have a space of maneuver to do that. It is very important for us to be flexible and recognize activities that in a normal program you don't recognize as a credit, because is some additional activities that students can run. And finally, I am very proud about that, and I just mentioned to you now the close and very intensive work between the two components of the university community, that are professor and administrative staff. Because in this way you can work in a very, very good way. There is no competence, there is no competitiveness between them, but inclusiveness, because we work together. When we work together, we reach in a very easy way the target. I'm proud, I said before, because with this strong cooperation between our professor and our colleagues of the Russian university, we closed 2 dual degrees in 9 months. Like a baby. We plan and close it in a very, very short term. But was a very hard and intensive cooperation between professor and administrative staff inside the university and also between university. So this one is the main, probably the main key word I would like to underline. So it's time to be to the lunch. Thank you for your attention. If you have some question, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Salvatore Giglio from University of Pavia. My question is, you showed us examples of double degree programs. Do you run or have you tried to establish joint degree programs? Because in my opinion, it's quite hard for the Italian law to run a joint degree program. I mean, you have many advantages because you can really build up an international program if you if you establish a joint degree, but it seems very hard to do it in Italy.
Yeah, it's one of the limitation and difficulties that we have in Italy to run a joint degree, because joint degree is a program that you run ex novo. So there is no program like that before. And this one, the Italian law system impose us to have to fulfill some condition, like number of professors, foreign professors that we need in order to do it. We have to find in a very good way in the grid of scientific criteria in some way, so it become very hard. But we develop some joint degree in some faculties where in some department where there was this possibility to have to fulfill these requirements, these requirements of this one, for instance. It is a joint degree that a chemistry for nanoengineering, but this is coming from a long time. So you have to plan in advance, long time in advance, in order to fulfill all these kind of activities. We hope that this kind of a limitation will be cancelled, as the government, some ministry and government told us. But we still have this kind of problem to create a new program. But what could be interesting is that you can run many dual degree. That if you think is the basic and the first step of the European university approach. Because in this way you have a mobility, a very huge mobility, and students usually can get the best, the excellence of courses related, provided by the partner university. Because usually when you think to develop a dual degree, you find a strategic partner. I mean, this was the idea. Then whole is you have to analyze in a specific way.
Now we have a little ceremony we organized with a little present for you and the diploma of the participation to the event. So we take a photo together then, but now we call your name, please. Each of you come here and I give this is a surprise, like the box surprise of yesterday. Some of you are not here, but anyway, we will send at home, of course. So Anita, first.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bert? Sorry. Bert. Here, Bert. Clementi, questo è facile. Gianfranco. No. Two Italians. David Holmes. That's right. Hey. Mrs. Holmes. That's right. That's right. Thank you. Eva, Dade. Dade. How do you say Dade? Delle piante, tu. Grazie a te. Thank you so much. Yeah? For the future. Marcello De Caro.
Someone was there.
Thank you, Marcello.
Cheers, man.
Valeria Fargione non credo ci sia, no. Vero? Salvatore Giglio.
Visita double degree.
It's a joint degree. Your degree. Nina Hoyer. Ho fatto finito? Ok. Gladys Dondo. It's not here? Yes. Anche lei. Maria Clara Medina. Spegnome Mars. Si prova. Signor Werner Paz. Tutto
The jacket looks great.
Oh, without that, yeah. Valburga. Maria Ranta. Angelica. Angelica Pelle. Hilde van Pedegen. Yes, Thomas Weiler. Kim Sister. Luigi Gatto. Chi sarà? Antonella Ratti. And last but not least, Damiano Binnacchio. Okay, which cities do you represent? Could you please remind me?
Okay, so if you don't mind going to this sad and ugly country, Switzerland, Zurich would be very... We would be happy to host you.
If you want to go to Warsaw, to get to know my horse, Daniela, my boss, Daniel, you are very welcomed.
Fabia? Okay, so we have to take a decision, or we could say we meet next year at one university and then the following year at the other, so we would have already for the next 2 years a program.
So I have already told Werner if our great Anita is willing to organize something, I just wait for a year. I'm very happy to go to Warsaw. So if you are...
Okay, 2020 Warsaw, 2021 Zurich, yeah?
Thank you.
And I think we all promise, of course, to support Anita in the preparation, and we will start like a discussion process. And yeah, I've been to Warsaw, I love it, so I'm very happy to come back. Good, thank you, Anita. Yeah. And now it's time for the group photo.
Yeah, group photo outside. So let me only thank all the
the colleagues for the organization of the meeting. We were a lot. Thank you so much. Riccardo at the camera, Adelaide and Alessandro, and all the colleagues. Thank you so much.